Okay, let's unpack this. We've all been taught that achieving wealth is about, being some kind of mathematical genius.
Right.
Knowing all the right formulas, crunching the spreadsheets, predicting the market perfectly.
Mm.
But, I mean, if that were true, every economist would be a billionaire, right?
Exactly. And they're not.
The reality is what determines your financial success is. It's less about calculus and much, much more about just common sense behavior.
Yeah.
So our deep dive today tackles the core insights of Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money, which really just goes to show that money is not a math problem. It is first and foremost a psychology problem.
And that shift in focus is precisely the mission here. Our sources, they consistently challenge that traditional notion that you need expert knowledge or even a high starting income.
Right.
The key insight we're really extracting for you today is why understanding your own emotions, your ingrained habits, and your fundamental mindset, why that actually matters more than your ability to calculate the yield curve.
It sort of democratizes it.
It does. It grounds the path to wealth in simple, repeatable human behavior, not some kind of complex market wizardry.
I find that central idea so freeing. It means the ultimate skill set is internal. And that brings us right to the emotional engine of our financial decisions. We know money is profoundly emotional, not logical. I think we've all been there, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely.
We've made that big purchase or maybe failed spectacularly at a savings goal, and then later you realize your feelings completely took the wheel.
It happens constantly because, well, the human brain is wired for immediate reward and social standing.
Okay, yeah.
Think about it. That urge to buy the latest, trendiest phone, even though the phone you have right now works perfectly fine.
It's guilty.
Logic tells you to keep saving. But that emotional urge driven by novelty or FOMO or just keeping up with colleagues, it just overrides the spreadsheet every time.
And what about something like a bonus?
That's a classic scenario. Logic says, okay, maximize this windfall. But the emotional reaction is almost always to immediately plan an expensive vacation or buy something flashy, a reward.
And the consequence is just brutal. If you don't learn to control those emotions, money will always control you. It just traps you in this cycle of earn, spend, and then start all over again.
And if we connect that emotional piece to the bigger picture, it lands us on a really profound question. Why do we truly want money in the first place? It's often mistaken as just a way to buy things, bigger houses, faster cars. But the source material is crystal clear. The ultimate goal is freedom.
Freedom, what does that actually mean in this context?
It means the freedom to live life on your own terms, to spend time with your loved ones, to pursue your passions, and maybe most importantly, to sleep peacefully at night without debt hanging over your head.
It really boils down to that feeling of control then.
That's it.
The person who feels the most control over their time and their decisions, no matter what their net worth is, they're the truly wealthy one.
Exactly. And look at the contrast, because this is where income becomes, well, almost irrelevant.
How so?
A person earning, say, $2,000 a month, but living within their means and saving consistently.
Yeah.
They might feel exponentially more free than someone earning $10,000 a month, but who's drowning in high-interest debt from lifestyle creep.
Wow.
Freedom isn't about the size of the paycheck. It's about the size of the gap between your income and your ego.
So if emotion is the engine, then patience must be the fuel. That behavioral focus brings us right to, I think, the most underrated quality in finance, patience.
Definitely.
We live in a world that just demands instant gratification, fast internet, fast food, fast success. Why do you think modern culture makes that long-term consistency so incredibly difficult?
It's psychologically challenging because compounding happens invisibly for years. It doesn't look like success at all until it suddenly, explodes.
So this is where the math of time really kicks in.
Yes. And when we look at the power of consistency, the ultimate example is Warren Buffett. People focus on his multi-billion-dollar fortune now.
Yeah.
But they forget that a staggering 99% of his massive wealth actually came after his 50th birthday.
That's an incredible statistic.
It is. It shows that success is built slowly, step by step, not through some overnight genius moment.
So time isn't just a factor. It's the fundamental mechanism.
Precisely. Time is the most powerful financial tool you have. And let's clarify a confusing point about compounding. A lot of people focus on the size of the contributions.
Right. How much money you put in each month.
Yeah, but the source material really emphasizes the duration. Imagine starting to invest just $100 a month at age 25 for only 10 years.
Right.
And then you stop. Completely.
Okay.
Now compare that to someone who waits until they're 40 and starts investing $500 a month, 5 times the amount, and keeps going until they're 65.
The second person has to end up with more, right? They put in way more money.
You'd think so, but it's often the opposite. The person who started early, even with small amounts, frequently ends up with significantly more wealth
How?
because that capital they put in their 20s had 40 years to grow. The later investor missed those crucial early decades. Time does the heavy lifting, not the size of the monthly check.
Wow. I never really thought of it that way. And that highlights the psychological difficulty, doesn't it? You have to endure decades of what feels like tiny, invisible returns before you see the magic happen.
You do.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Chasing that compounding forever can actually be dangerous because it implies you never stop. We have to talk about the concept of enough.
Knowing when you have enough is, I would argue, the single most important financial skill you can develop. It's the protective guardrail against the worst risks in life.
The guardrail.
Yeah, because the pursuit of more often leads people to take these excessive risks, like putting their life savings into some questionable scheme or even committing fraud, because they just lose perspective.
But isn't enough just, I don't know, a psychological cop-out for people who lack ambition? Wall Street always tells us to optimize, strive for higher returns.
That's a fair challenge. But the source makes a strong case that enough is about protecting your happiness, not limiting your potential.
So it's a defensive move.
It's about avoiding the danger zone, the point where the marginal gain from getting more wealth is just. It's far outweighed by the risk of losing what you already have. It's about setting boundaries to prevent you from crossing that line into greed, which so often leads to ruin.
It really is about avoiding the extremes then. You see the person who saves every single penny and refuses to spend on anything that brings them joy.
Missing out on life.
Right, they miss travel, hobbies, and then you have the reckless spender. So the definition of enough gives you that security and happiness, letting you save for the future, but not forgetting to actually live in the present.
And that definition has to be entirely personalized, which raises a critical question. Why does a one-size-fits-all approach to finance just inevitably fail?
It fails because everyone's relationship with money is unique. It's shaped so deeply by your childhood, by your life circumstances.
It's those foundational money stories we carry.
Exactly. Someone who grew up where money was never a visible concern will have a completely different risk tolerance than someone who grew up constantly worrying about the rent.
Absolutely. I mean, think about someone who lived through the 2008 financial crisis, or maybe watched their parents lose a house.
Yeah.
They might have this deep ingrained fear of investing because they equate it with, like, existential risk. On the flip side, someone who only ever experienced an economic boom might be dangerously overconfident.
So what's the conclusion there?
The conclusion is powerful.
Yeah.
Stop trying to copy someone else's financial habits or lifestyle. Focus entirely on what works for your unique situation and your personal history.
And stop copying what you see online. Which brings us to the trap of comparison. It's such an easy habit to fall into. We're scrolling social media, we see people with luxury cars or on glamorous vacations.
And we feel that urgent need to catch up. Comparison is just toxic to financial health because people rarely, if ever, display the true costs of that lifestyle.
You don't see the credit card statements.
You don't. The source material gives that powerful image. The person driving a Ferrari but drowning in debt versus the person with a modest car, peace of mind, and plenty of savings tucked away.
So who is truly wealthy? It's the person who has that freedom we talked about earlier, the one with the invisible wealth, the peace of mind, not the flashy assets that are actually owned by the bank.
And if we're being humble about our own decisions, we have to acknowledge the role of external forces. We have to talk about luck and risk.
Okay.
And this is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. But success isn't always about sheer genius, and failure isn't always about irresponsibility. Luck and risk play a much, much bigger role than we like to admit.
What's fascinating here is how the source material illustrates this using these very specific historical examples.
Well, take the well-known example of Bill Gates. His incredible success wasn't just due to his raw brilliance. It was partly due to the pure luck of being in a specific school in 1968 that had access to a computer terminal.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, at that time, computer access was virtually unheard of for high school students. He had the right skills, absolutely, but the massive opportunity, the sheer timing, that was luck.
It doesn't diminish his genius, but it frames it accurately.
Exactly. It frames it within a unique context.
And that makes the call to action pretty profound.
Yeah.
Be humble about your achievements and kind toward those who struggle.
Yeah.
You can't fully separate the role of chance from your results, which also means you can never fully predict the future.
And that realization that we can't predict the future feeds directly into how you protect your financial stability. Once you accept that luck is involved and things can go wrong, you won't fall into the trap of overconfidence.
So let's talk about those two dangers that threaten stability. Overconfidence and a lack of preparation. Overconfidence would be thinking you can predict market shifts
Or putting all your money into one single unproven stock because you're sure it's the one.
Yeah. As we've said, the market always surprises us. It's better to be cautious, to diversify, and just assume some things will inevitably fail.
And that caution is best expressed through the buffer. The source material really stresses the importance of having a financial buffer savings for the unexpected.
And that's more than just an emergency fund.
It's much more. A buffer reduces stress, it helps you sleep better and make clearer decisions, but it also prepares you to take advantage of unexpected opportunities, which often require capital quickly. It's the luxury of being able to wait and evaluate your options when life throws you a curveball.
Now let's explore the trade-offs, the true cost of chasing wealth. Many people work tirelessly for more money, but that comes with a hidden non-monetary cost that we often ignore until it's too late.
That hidden cost is so often time and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
If your relentless pursuit of a higher income means you're working such long hours that you miss your children growing up, or you're constantly struggling with stress, anxiety, health problems, then you are sacrificing the very things money is supposed to buy you, a better life.
You have to ask yourself what you're willing to sacrifice.
Yes. The book warns us to constantly ask, what am I willing to sacrifice for more money? The true cost isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in your time, your energy, and your happiness.
And the research is so clear on the limited link between money and happiness. Money can certainly solve problems, affording basic needs, paying bills, ensuring medical care, and that relief brings a lot of joy.
But beyond a certain and relatively modest point, additional wealth just doesn't lead to a proportional increase in joy.
So where does true happiness come from?
True happiness, the source explains, comes from things money can't buy or scale. Control over your time, being able to decide how you spend your days, and having deep, meaningful relationships.
Which perfectly circles back to the ultimate purpose of disciplined financial habits. Reframing savings is key here.
It is.
Saving money is not boring or restrictive. It is the act of buying freedom and independence.
It's the freedom to leave a bad job.
Yes, or the independence to pursue a dream, or the ability to help others without worrying about your next paycheck.
And this is all reinforced by the simplest, most powerful habit of all, which is just living below your means. It means you spend less than you earn.
And you have to rigorously fight that tendency to increase your expenses every time your income goes up.
You do. Wealth is not about how much you make. It is about how much you keep and how wisely you use it.
So if we look at the entire picture, money is just a tool. It's not the goal itself. It's a tool for creating the life you want, security, stability, the ability to give back, but it's never the ultimate objective.
Final synthesis then. What we've seen is that your mindset matters infinitely more than your income or your education. Consistency, patience, and humility. They're the backbone of lasting financial success.
And that true wealth is often invisible.
It is. It's peace of mind, it's freedom from worrying, and it's the ability to act on your values.
So what does this all mean for you? It means success is about making wise, self-aware choices every day and finding fulfillment, remembering that wealth isn't a dollar amount, but a state of control and contentment. We began by noting that money is an emotional problem, and those emotions are often rooted in the personal financial stories we tell ourselves, often based on childhood or culture.
Right.
So now that you've processed these insights, take a moment. What are the stories you tell yourself about how money should be earned, or spent, or saved? Are those deeply held narratives helping you live the life you want, or are they holding you back? That's something worth mulling over.